All right, number 9, we're solving for 3 variables. And this one is just set up perfectly. It's almost too easy. You're like, yeah, right, it's not too easy. Okay, but it is set up really well. So what would you try to eliminate? If we just multiplied this middle equation by 2, we'd have all 8s for the r's. We already have all 3s for the s's, and we just would have to multiply this bottom one by 2 to make the t's line up. Okay, but if we don't have to multiply, if there's a way to avoid multiplying, let's do that. So what I'm going to do is I am going to put equations 1 and 2 together. And I'll have negative 8r minus 3s minus 4t equals negative 2. First equation. Negative 4r plus 3s minus 4t equals 26. And since those have opposite signs, negative 3 and positive 3, I can add them together and they will be eliminated. Okay. And so I'm going to do, I think it's easier to add, we make fewer mistakes. So if I can find an opposite sign pair, that's usually what I'll do. And you can force them to be opposite signs if they're not. So like here you have positive 3, here you have positive 3. I could switch every sign in one of the equations and they would now have opposite signs. But you can also subtract, so we won't force that issue too much. So we do negative 8r plus negative 4r, that's negative 12r. If you add negatives, you should become more negative. Negative 4t plus negative 4t, that's negative 8t. And then negative 2 plus 26 is 24. So here's one of my equations. And something to be said here is that these things all divide by 4. And so if you wanted to, you can make your numbers smaller and divide all those coefficients by 4, and then they'll be a little bit nicer, they'll be a little bit smaller. My next pair will be equations 1 and 3, and I chose those because they also have opposite signs, which means we can add. All right, I'm writing equation 3 first. And then I'll write equation 1. And just remember, so the reason we're pairing these up is so that we can eliminate a single variable. We want to eliminate the same variable. Okay. I have opposite signs, so I'm going to add to eliminate the s's. And what will result is negative 16r minus 2t negative 2, so 32 here. What will result is what's in the box there, and we have 2 new equations that came from combining equations that we were given. And those 2 new equations have 2 unknowns, so that means we can treat them like a system, 2 equations, 2 unknowns, and eliminate something. And if you're looking at them and you're trying to figure out what to eliminate, simplifying these by dividing by 4 and this one by dividing by 2 would probably make that a little easier. But we're just going to look at 12 and 16. You can make those match, but 8 and 2, that's pretty easy. We will keep this top equation the same, and I'm going to try to eliminate t. Okay? So if I want to eliminate t, this 2 needs to be an 8. And the way I do that is by multiplying by 4. That gives me negative 64r minus 8t equals 128. And these have the same sign, negative 8t and negative 8t, so I'm going to subtract. Okay, and when you subtract, those are eliminated, but negative 12r minus negative 64r is just negative 12r plus 64, which is 52r. And 24 minus 128 is going to be negative 104 divided by 52. Yet r is negative 2. So we got our first piece of information. What do we do with it? Well, we can take it either to this equation or this one. I'm going to take it and put it back in here. Okay. So now I know that r is -2, so when I come to that variable in that equation, I will replace it with -2. And now I will solve 24 minus 8t equals 24. I'm just doing inverse operations here, subtract 24 from both sides, and my goal, so I've got -8t over here because this becomes 0. This is also 0, and I'm going to write it because it's the only thing over there. This is representing that there is 0, a value of 0 over here. Divide by -8, and I get t is 0. So now I've got two of my variables. So for the last step, we will take one of the equations, and I'm just going to use equation 3. So equation 3 down here, this is the last step. -8r plus 3s. I started out with an equation that had 3 unknowns. Now I know 2 of them, so I'm going to plug in the ones that I know. And that's just 0. This becomes 16 plus 3s equals 34. Subtract 16 from both sides. I'm going to come over here. This will be 3s equals 18. Divide by 3. And get s equals 6. Okay. I'm just going to put these in alphabetical order and write my answer. -2, 6, 0. And that is the solution to this system. They intersect, those planes intersect in one location, and that is the location.